welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. Of course, you know what to do if you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, new and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover those new ones, all the usual places in podcast land, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Of course, you can grab us at NPR, WFPK.org, YouTube for the video versions, or anywhere you get your podcast from. You can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, we're going to be talking about Expendables 4. It's been a decade, nearly a decade, since Expendables 3. So we get to jump in this with producer Les Weldon and director Scott Waugh. Now, what has happened? What's new in this world? Please allow me to read the synopsis here. A new generation of stars join the world's top action stars for an adrenaline-fueled adventure in Expendables 4. Reuniting as the team of elite mercenaries, we get Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture, and of course, Sylvester Stallone, joined for the first time by 50 Cent, that's Curtis Jackson, Megan Fox, Andy García, and this great cast of action stars. It says, armed with every weapon they can get their hands on and the skills to use them, the Expendables are the world's last line of defense and the team that gets called when all the other options are off the table. We know how this part of the story works, but new team members with new styles and tactics are going to give new blood a whole new meaning. Let's get into this. We're talking Expendables 4. It's Kyle Meredith with Les Weldon and Scott Waugh.
Man, look at that background. Your background's way cooler than mine.
Oh, yeah? I try to let my heroes do the heavy lifting for me back here.
Well, you did good.
Man, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I guess let me throw probably what you're getting. Congratulations on Expendables 4 here. It's great to see the gang back together, all the new faces. Let's see here. Relaunching, 10 years later. Why now? Isn't that the easy place to start?
Look, people. I kind of asked, like, where have you guys been? And I think after the third one, they really wanted to come up with something that was more unique to the brand and on message and back to rated R and kind of get back to the original. And that took some time. And then schedules were obviously, when you're dealing with this many stars, it's very complicated to get everybody's availability. And, it took a very long time to get the stars to align and the screenplay that they all wanted to make. But here we are, and we're back.
Even after the third one, which, that some people were a little iffy because of the PG-13 rating and rightly so. Some people expected something more. This movie, we started thinking about it and we said, well, look, if we need to develop a story, we need to really think about what we're going to do here with this fourth one. And more importantly, we need to go back to our roots. We need to go back to, the hard R. We need to give the fans, that visceral, carnal experience that they expect from an Expendables movie. And I think possibly the third one, maybe we overstepped our bounds, if you will, by assuming that, hey, the audience, it'll help expand the audience and they will love to have a PG-13, when in fact, they want that freight train coming at them at, 120 miles an hour. And when it hits a wall, they want to hear and feel and see, all the stuff that happens. And that was our focus there, as well as the story. We really wanted to get the story and the characters. This wasn't one where we were just going to bring in random big actor names and try to fit them in there to interact with our guys, because that doesn't work. That doesn't work for the story. And unless it's helping to push the story forward, it's just the character there, and it feels, it's cool to see him, but it's a little bit like, okay, well, that was fine. There are all those interactions which the last film, for example, just didn't quite have. We brought in, these cameos, and it was a cool cameo, but how did that move the story forward? All of this was story driven, and the characters were there, and then we went after the actors that we thought would work.
Now, going into this, I mean, because the story can stand on its own, obviously. I mean, we've got the characters, we've got some history. Do you make sure that you're taking certain things from 3 as you're putting your own visual touch to it all?
100%. I think, we really went back and studied the first 3 and wanted to put Easter eggs in the whole movie throughout. So unless you're actually an Expendables fan, you might miss a bunch of them, but they're littered throughout. I came up with a bunch of ideas to pay homages to the original one, and especially Expendables 2. Those two really, to me, really wanted to lean back into tonally and even stylistically. And there's a lot of that going on in the 4th one that I think kind of puts us back on message for the brand.
Yeah, that's fun to play with. I mean, when you get that much world building that is kind of already in place that you get to kind of mess around with.
Yeah, man, exactly. And they did a great job. The original franchise that Sly launched in 2010. I mean, why reinvent it? It's awesome.
So you got the story too, and that becomes an important part of this. And I'm only saying that because I think there's always been that section of fans who are like, story doesn't matter, all-star guys playing around with each other, but there is a story here. I'm trying not to ask this too generally, I'm just without giving too much away from the movie itself. But what was that story you wanted to tell? Because the parts I also see is that it's fun that it sort of links up with real life, what's happening out there. As I understand, the script came before a lot of this stuff, but yet here we find ourselves.
It's interesting. That was, the script it predates most of what's happening now and this conflict. There's always been a mistrust, I think, between America and Russia, East versus West there. But in this case, it was a matter of, that's an element that is going to be a threat to any country. Now, the fact that it's escalated in today's world is more a coincidence, if you will, and perhaps it's just in the kind of general universe of action and this and that. There are always situations that can suddenly escalate and become part of your movie, but we didn't intentionally say, oh, let's write something and include Russia in there for this reason. It's fortuitous or not, I'm not sure, but it just happened to sort of escalate as the story was there.
Well, it's fine. It's always interesting how art imitates life, and sometimes it's the other way around, right? Where life follows art. And yes, the screenplay was written many years ago. So there are current events that are happening as we speak, unfortunately, that are in the film. And it's just, one of those things that's, story's most important for me. And, yeah, we can go around and fight and blow stuff up and have a great time. But unless there's actually a human component in it too that we can all relate to, I think is what makes Expendables 4 enjoyable and fun, because there's a beautiful revenge redemptive story in there that really leans on to Christmas's, who's Jason Statham's character, and really gives us something to grab onto some emotionally.
And like I said, it's not, the Russians aren't the bad guys in this film, so we're not targeting them specifically. It's more like what would happen if, and that just happens to sort of land where we are today.
I mean, don't forget, it's a tongue-in-cheek brand, right? Mm-hmm. It's an escapism. Let's leave our dire, dark world that we live in right now, because unfortunately the planet right now has got lots of issues. Let's go for 2 hours somewhere and smile, right? And that's what Expendables is about.
Yeah, and it's fun. And it's fun seeing the big stunts. I mean, I'd love to hear about that, because at some point, there's a script, sure, but you get to dream some big stuff up. I mean, seeing the bikes on the boat. Yeah. That where does it, what part does that enter? I mean, do you get to play around with, do you go, okay, how do we make this bigger, how crazy can we get?
Yeah, unfortunately and fortunately, that's what they usually hire me for, is we want to up the ante of action and make it something crazy and visual. And so when I come in, I'll look at the action sequences, and I don't necessarily throw them out what's on the page, but they're very much placeholders to me. I I know where the character starts and where the character's gotta eventually end, but how they get there, I can let my imagination be my only limitation.
Yeah.
So we can create some visual set pieces like, let's have Robbie Madison get inverted on a deck with his motorcycle and shoot upside down. Yeah, we'll mount guns on the bikes too, and they'll be autos. So yeah, you get to be a kid again. Instead of there being little Hot Wheels, they're actually real life people.
No, it's going to be great too, because dreaming it up was one thing, getting someone to say yes, and they do. Like that's.
Yeah, well, I think it's that's the beauty of this franchise is they want to go big and they want to do it for real. And so when I come up with these kind of sometimes crazy cockamamie ideas, I'm kind of waiting for them to say, I don't know, but they go, yeah, let's do that. And then I'm like, oh shit, how do I pull that off?
All set to a fantastic soundtrack. We were commenting on the music, or the music behind me a second ago. I was writing down some of the tracks on here because we start with Kaleo's Backbone. I know those guys; they're a really great band. Don't Fear the Reaper is in here, of course. Boys Are Back in Town, harkening back to the original.
First, yeah.
Yeah. How do you what do you want to do musically with a movie like this?
Well, look, there's a lot of input from a lot of people. We have a music supervisor, but a lot of it is Sly is driven, Jason, 50 obviously, but it's thematically speaking, you have to have that sense of drive that this is thundering, this is going to be fun, it's going to be kick-ass, and it's not going to be a love story by any means, and that's not what this is, and so we focus on giving the audience the visual and audio experience, if you will.
It's definitely a fine line. It's such a fine line because you want to be relevant, you want to be current, but you also want to throw back to the original movie. So you got some song choices that go throwback to the original, where the brand started, but you got the score going more current, what's going on cinematically nowadays. And you just got some fun. One of the song choices in the movie was, are we going to put in a 50 Cent song?
Right.
And I was sitting there going, hell yes, we are, because that's what the brand would do. And yes, there is. And it's very funny and it's awesome. And I'm very excited about it.
How do you not? You've got 50 in the movie. How do you not do something like that?
I know they're like, well, it's not 50 Cent in the movie. I'm like, who cares, man? This is Expendables.
Yeah. Well, and of course that brings up the question about, the casting in itself, because yes, we have the legends, but this time around we do see more of a new crew than we ever have in the past. Was that done intentionally, or is this just part of the grand wish list? I mean, how do you land on these? Because again, we're talking the all-star team once again.
Our guys, although they are aging, I mean, let's face it, are still in incredible shape. They're still doing their stunts, but you need new blood in there, and you need new blood. But like I said, this new blood that isn't just there just because they're young, and that's all you're going to get out of that. So for us, it was a matter of, again, bringing in like Levy Tran, again, to interact there with Randy Couture, that made it, again, it's bringing out Randy's character a bit there, and now she's a strong character on her own. But yes, she's a little bit younger. Jacob Scipio too, but he's such a good actor that it enhances. And Antonio was an actor, unfortunately, due to scheduling problems, couldn't be in it, but why not bring in, Galgo's son, that then the audience, like, they're not just seeing Antonio again, nobody has a problem with Antonio, but you're now seeing the next generation of Antonio, if you will.
So first of all, you go back and you look at the first three, right? And you're thinking about, if you look at it, you're going to go, okay, they pretty much have casted all the old original action heroes, and majority of them that are not a part of the Expendables all died. So there's not really more to pick from. You got to look at who's current, who's doing stuff new, and who's the real new action type of personalities these days to bring into the fold. And that's when you get 50 Cent and Iko Uwais and Tony Jaa, right? And bringing Megan Fox and stuff like that to, it's not freshen up the brand. It's to make the brand relevant to who's out in the field right now, right? To play with those nostalgic characters that are still badass in their own right.
Yeah. I mean, I got to imagine, those first days on the set or read-throughs or whatever. I mean, these new crews and the legends, like, can you see it in their eyes? Those moments happening of the.
Well, it's like putting an all-star team back together. I always like they always wonder, like, how is that working with all of these actors together? Like, they're all respectful of each other. So think about pro athletes when they all join a team, but they're all come from different teams and they were badass on that team. When they get together, they're like, oh shit, that's so-and-so. Oh yeah, bro, that's so-and-so. And these guys, they were like that. They were like kids getting to play ball again together. And it was a fun experience with them.
Yeah. Now, not implying anything here, but let's say we get a fifth one somewhere down the road. Let's, I'm hoping, by the way, but let's, do you have that? Do you keep a wish list in your head? Like, oh, who would be great? Do you even let yourself think about that?
Look, there's always a kind of a wish list, but we haven't really begun thinking about 5 yet. First, we have to see if we've given the audience what they wanted again. It's almost like this movie is in a way, it's like a peace offering, a sort of, I apologize, but here is your real story. This is what you want. And if the audience likes it and the audience buys into it, then, anything is possible. But there's no way if I can think, oh, what am I doing for the fifth one? It doesn't work that way. It only works if the audience really buys into it and if you stay true to the characters and the franchise and the Expendables.
No, because I don't only because I am a filmmaker that says story is first. So let's see what the story is, and then we'll see what type of who's out there that could be cool for that character. Because that was like Iko Uwais. I didn't go, hey, let's get Iko Uwais and we'll write a character for him. It was the other way around. We had this character, and he was from that region of the world, and he needed to be able to kick ass and fight against a guy like Jason Statham. And so then you're like, God, who could do that? Who could go mano-a-mano with Statham? And you're like, Iko Uwais good. So let's get him.
Les, it's a pleasure talking to you. Congrats on this one. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I love seeing the gang back in action. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
It's been a pleasure likewise. Have a great day.
Awesome, man. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.